He was the same. I counted on Judas. He proved untrue. So go tell the world, Paul, I'm counting on you. I sent you to Damascus. I sent you to Rome. And when your work is over, Lord Paul, I'll call you home. 'Cause I counted on Adam, I counted on Cain, I counted on Jonah, he was the same. I counted on Judas, he proved untrue. So go tell the world, Paul, I'm counting on you.
Amen.
Good song.
All right. Okay, well, Kenny, you want me to lay this back?
Yeah, you can just lay it down.
Okay.
What a dramatic witness to what we just heard with that song.
Yeah.
And that's great that you did that, Sheila. I appreciate it. I did this message about 4 months ago, and I don't remember who was here or who wasn't here, but I want you to look with me at Romans 12. Romans 12. And we're not going to stay here. I'm going to try my best to hurry to keep y'all from not having to, sit here too awful long. But again, I don't know where Deborah is. And I would love to see her here, but, it might just be meant to be. I don't know if there was a run-in with her mama. And sometimes that happens, that accidents and things, going to the bathroom and stuff like that, and she's not holding her own right now very much, so.
Yeah, Brother Kenny, I'm surprised she could leave her at all.
Well,
She's
yeah.
elderly and she might. And even though you tell the elder people like that not to get up and not try to go do it.
Right.
They'll do it,
Right, I get that.
Yeah.
Well, like I say, we're going to be in Romans chapter 12, and we're going to just do 2 verses at the top. If I had a preface to this message, I would want it to be that we would examine ourselves. I examined that microphone up there and found that there was no batteries in it. Had I not taken time to unscrew that part on the bottom, I would have not have realized that there's no batteries. I know why there's not batteries in it, because it wasn't used. When you leave batteries in something like that, they corrode if it's not used. So that's good that they left it like that. And probably the switch down in the bottom is where it's actually turned off and on, where it turns that mic on to make it work. So maybe all we have to do is just flip it and then turn it off at the mic, and it'll be fine, with the batteries they got in it. But anyway, I made an examination of why it wasn't working, and it needed batteries. So we can't expect something to work if there's no battery. And salvation is what we should be examining. Every one of us should be examining the word salvation. And I don't think it's just coincidence that we've got the ones that are here, because this is fertile ground of what we got here. There's somebody that could be saved today. somebody could hear this over the video over online and get saved today because of the demonstration that I'll do. But look with me at verse 1. It says, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. That's what I want for every one of us today, is that good and acceptable, perfect will of God. But it takes salvation to get that. So if we got one person in here that's never been saved, then it's going to be hard for that person to understand what real true message and what true salvation really is until you have the meeting of the mind like Paul did when he said, Lord, what would you have me to do? And we've already studied on that. If you want to go over in the Old Testament, go to the book of Psalm. Go to the book of Psalm, and let's see if I can find it myself. Sometimes my hands don't work as good as they used to. The book of Psalms, 139. Psalm 139. Now this is, I could read you the whole chapter, but to save time and to save, I would encourage everybody to go back and read Psalm 139. I think it's highly, highly important that we see what Psalm 139 says. It says, I'm just going to read it. Can I just do that? And hopefully I won't have to just break down every little syllable in the Bible. I like to do it, especially when I feel like I'm helping somebody. I like to break it down the best I can. It says, O Lord, thou hast searched me and known me. There's a message right there. Thou hast searched me and known me. That means that God knows all our yesterdays. He knows every one of our todays, and he's going to know me every day tomorrow. And David is the one that is saying this because it says a Psalm of David. We know that David wrote it. So it says in verse 2, Thou knowest my down sitting and my uprising. Thou understandest my thought afar off. I started getting wobbly up there, and I got that chair to sit down. What he's saying is, God knows that I was going to get that chair, and I was going to sit down before I ever grabbed the chair. He was already enough in the future to know that I was getting wobbly, and I needed to sit down. I should have probably got the chair when I got up there, but I was balancing myself. But look at verse number 3. Thou compassest my path and my laying down, and art acquainted with all my ways. See, he knows our good times, our bad times, our times of our anger. He knows when we want to get angry. He knows all about that. For there is not a word in my tongue, but lo, O Lord, thou knowest it altogether. He's talking about David's tongue, but was David perfect? No. David was far from perfect, but he says here, you know my tongue, O Lord, thou knowest it altogether, meaning you know the bad, you know the good. See, I'm not talking about any one particular person, but if the shoe fits, wear it. If it's for us, we need to wear it. Verse number 5, Thou hast beset me behind and before, and lay thine hand upon me. I like that. You was always with me before and behind and in the future. It says, such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high. I cannot attain unto it. Remember, Carolyn, it was a couple of Sundays ago that you said you didn't feel good enough.
It hasn't changed.
Yeah, well, can I tell you something? This should help you. We are none good. No, not one. So God is not impressed with our goodness. Because if we try to get to Him without Jesus, we're just circumventing the main ingredient. If you made a cake and you got everything to make a cake but the cake mix, it's going to be a royal mess to make something that you don't even have the cake mix. And Jesus is the cake mix. He's the main ingredient, and without Him, you have nothing. So it ain't about our goodness, because God really doesn't examine our goodness. Without our salvation, our goodness is as filthy rags. And I'll get to that in just a couple minutes. Whither shall I go from thy spirit? Or whither shall I flee from thy presence? Meaning, where am I going to go? Where can I run to? Where can I go up there and hide? I could go and go in this church and find a place to hide from y'all. And that maybe y'all would never see me. But God's there. See, y'all might not know where I went, but God is there. That's what David is saying here. If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost part of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me. Notice what the verse says. Thy hand shall lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. Notice that he said the right hand. The right hand, I'm right-handed. We might have somebody in here today that writes left-handed. Mama taught me to write right-handed. Now, my brother, I think, maybe he might be favor his left hand. I'm not positive of that, but I'm just saying that I think that maybe he was a left-hander and I have always been a right-hander. But he's pointing that out here. He's saying here, even there shall my hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. When you're in God's right hand, God is holding you up. Literally, it would be just like if a father figure would come to you as a child and hold you up. There's something about the right hand is the right hand of power, is what it's referring to. It says, if I say surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me. See, even though that we might be hidden in darkness, God is still seeing in the light. You know, me and Norma has something in common. I don't know if y'all know it or not, but we got something in common. She's got 6 cats, and I got 1. And do you have a cat?
Yeah, it's 4.
Okay. All right, well, we all 3 got something. Sheila, you don't have a cat, do you? I've never seen one.
Yeah, but I said if one come to my house, nobody didn't want it, I'd take care of it.
See, we all got cat blood in us, because just like she said, she'd take care of it if it'd come back. The one that I got fell out of a car when it went by. It was under the car, and it jumped out of the car and run to our house, and it stayed under our barn for almost a month and wouldn't never let us touch it at all. And it's got a pellet BB in his edge of his ear, where somebody shot him with a pellet gun. you know, but yet that's my cat.
The crap out of
Well, that's my cat. But when I got up this morning and got in my vehicle, that cat of mine was out near the road. Not on the road, but near the road. But where does she go when she see me go by? She went back to her place of dwelling, her safety spot. I don't mind her being outside, but see, this is talking about at the night vision. Deborah says that a cat is able to see as good at night as it is in the day. Is that true?
Yep, that's what I was thinking when you said that.
Well,
I was
that's what
thinking
brought
that.
me to this mind right here, is if a cat can see in the dark, how come we think it's impossible for God to see in the dark? He's got all vision. He knows everything. There's nothing that he doesn't know. It says, yea, the darkness hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike to thee. Meaning, what is he saying? Night and day is no different.
He must
God
be
is
kin-
God, huh?
He must be kin to the cats.
Well, look here. He made the
I
cat.
know.
For thou hast possessed my reins. Now, when the verse says the word reins, it's talking about
It's
the.
reins. Isn't it the reins, like reins of a horse?
Well, it could be, but I look at it a little bit deeper.
Oh,
I look at it that the reins is like the working of the muscular of the body. That he knows my working of my heart, the muscular, the breathing, the lungs, the kidneys. He knows the inside. When he uses the word reins, he's looking at the inner Carolyn,
okay.
not just the outer. See, I'm only able to look at the outer. I'm not able to see the inner.
I don't want to see it. It's probably on
But he's able to see the reins of you, meaning the inside of you and how you act, what you say, how you live your life. He's able to already see that. So there's nothing that is covered up from him. That's what he's saying. It says, let's see, thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. Well, we all have. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Are you fearfully and wonderfully made? We all are. You know what we got in common? We all got 2 legs. We got 2 feet. We got 10 toes. We got 10 fingers. We got 2 hands. We got 2 eyes. We got 2 ears. See, but we're fearfully and wonderfully made. If David said that, can we say that too? Sure. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works. That's what David is saying about God. And that my soul knoweth right well. Now, when I read that, where it says that, and thy soul thou knoweth right well. If you break that down, he knows our right, and he knows it very well. If you're looking at it like that, if you're looking at it at the way the verse is printed, it says, my substance was not hid from thee when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. See, he's thinking of the time before he was a person, before he had the 5 fingers and the 10 toes, before he was who David was, because it goes on. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect. And in thy book all my members were written. Now, what members is he talking about? He said, my members. So what was he saying? Before I was born, I didn't have fingers. I didn't have toes. And when he says that word members, he's talking about the members.
Of his body.
Know that my members in italicized. Is y'all's in italicized? Is the word italicized in my members?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that means it was added by the translator. So he's talking about the members of his body, his natural body. Like the arms is not coming out your head. You know, your feet is not sticking out where your rear end is. I mean, he made us in a function that we could function our whole life. It wouldn't have been right for God to put our head down on the bottom of where our feet is, because then we couldn't see. So he put our eyes in the top of our head where we could see. That's what David is saying right here. Which is in continuance were fashioned when as yet there was none of them. He fashioned us before we was even us. That's hard to imagine, but that's what the Bible says. How precious also are thy thoughts unto me, O God. How great is the sum of them. If I should count them, they are more in number than the sand. Last night, y'all know what this is? It's a pill bottle. And it's not designed to hold a whole prescription full of pills. It's designed to carry whatever you take in that hour or that day to put it in the pill bottle. Would y'all guess what I got in here?
Pills.
Batteries?
No. What did the Bible say? If I should count them, they are more in number than the sand.
You got sand in there?
And I thought about this because I had my well dug, I think it was back in 2018. And this, I know you can't see it, but can you imagine that little tiny little pill bottle if we had to count every grain of sand in this? And he's saying that his thoughts is more precious than the sand. It's talking about the sand everywhere. It's not talking just the sand by the seashore. Can you imagine spending the rest of your life, Carolyn, taking this and putting it out on a piece of tinfoil, and all day you're trying to separate it out and then try to count it?
That would drive you crazy.
Well, but see, that's the preciousness of God, because he says here, how precious also are the thoughts of me, O God, how great is the sum of them. If I should count them, which is impossible, they are more in number than the sand. Not just in this thing, but he's talking about the sand. When I wake, I am still with thee. Meaning when I go to sleep, I'm still with thee. Remember, I think it was Margaret that said that she was afraid to go to sleep before. Remember, I heard her say that? Mm-hmm. Can you imagine living a life where you was afraid to go to sleep?
Why was she? Because she was alone?
She was unsaved.
She wasn't saved. She was afraid she died under him.
She would literally fear everything that would go on around her because of her condition. Well, I'm just repeating what I heard her on say.
I heard her say it too.
It says in verse 19, surely thou wilt slay the wicked, O God. Depart from me, therefore, ye bloody men. See, it's easy for us to want to hate But David basically has permission to hate the ones that is a non-believer, that is, he calls them a bloody men, for they speak against thee wickedly, and thine enemies take thy name in vain. Take somebody that doesn't know the Lord, they're going to act like a heathen, because that's what they are. They're a heathen in front of God. They are what they are. My cat is crazy. And I bet you that if I walked in Norma's yard, that all 6 of them cats ain't going to automatically come to me and want me to love on them.
One of them would, but the rest of them would.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Mine is she would go running if Norma drove up in her driveway.
Well, they don't know. I mean, they're afraid of.
Well, they're afraid. That's exactly right. It says here, do not I hate them, O Lord, that hate thee? Now, is he condoning hatred? No. He's just calling a spade, is what he's doing. He's just saying, you hate the wrong things. Do you love the person? If somebody walked in here and they had animosity against me, should I hate them back, or should I make them hate the gospel? My job is to give them the gospel. My job is not to hate them personally. I don't think that's what he's referring to. Do not I hate them, O Lord, that hate thee? Am I not grieved with those that rise up against me? I hate them with perfect hatred. I count them my enemy. See, David's just being, he's just being David. He's just being, he takes it personal when somebody doesn't really love the Lord the right way. That's what he's doing. He's not condoning hatred. That's not what he's meaning here. I hate them with perfect hatred. If God made us to go to heaven and we chose not to go, would God have a right to be upset and angry with us? When God made heaven for every human being, he made heaven for you and I, but we chose not to go because we didn't believe. But now we come to the last 2 verses. And the last 2 verses is important. Because if you notice in verse 1 that we just read, O Lord, thou hast searched me and known me. And now we're at verse 23. And guess what he's saying right here? Search me, O God, and know my heart. Search me, O God. Who did he say that to? He said it to God.
Yeah.
But it's so easy, Carolyn, for me to point fingers at Carolyn. But that's not what David did. David didn't point fingers at everybody else. He said, search me, O God. Search David. See, I would really hope that Deborah would have been here to hear this part, because I believe the last Sunday of the new year coming in, the last Sunday of 2023, I would have loved to have seen everybody on the bench, because I believe that everybody should desire for God to search them. We're going into a new year starting tonight at 12 o'clock. We're going into a new year. What would be wrong with reminding Norma, search yourself. Carolyn, search yourself. But you know what?
I don't feel worthy though.
Well, see, that's where you need to get away from that. You need to just tell yourself that, look, if you ever believed, do you believe what I'm telling you?
Yes.
Well, if you believe what I'm telling you, you shouldn't doubt what I'm telling you. Because you can ask her if I'm lying to you. And I'm not lying to you. You need to get off the fact that you're not good enough because we're none good.
No, not one.
Me, I'm not worthy. He said over there in verse 1, O Lord, thou hast searched me and known me. Do you think that he knows just my good, or do you think he knows my crud?
He knows everything.
Okay.
He knows stuff that we don't
Okay,
know.
but if he knows everything, he knows our good and our bad.
Right.
But you don't see the good in you.
I know.
You
I
don't see
believe
it.
I'm evil, but somebody's nasty to me, I can come right back at your butt. And I can speak it in
Well,
whatever.
what I'm trying to tell you is that when you meet Christ,
I'm gonna be,
things is going to change. But see,
now
there
I'm
might be
sad.
evidence that that relationship hasn't taken place. Remember what we said in Sunday school. What would you have me to do?
I don't feel I can ever get there because I'm not, I don't feel good enough
Well,
to
Sister
be,
Carolyn,
to be able to be.
if I could put it this way, we all got faults, every one of us. You know, and that's why Jesus came, because we all got faults, every one of us.
Not one of us in here can save yourself. I don't care if you had $100,000 in the bank and you wrote a check to anybody on that $100,000, that would not pay your way into heaven. If you gave
that.
your body to be burned, I can take you over there to Corinthians 13. Though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor and have not charity, it profiteth nothing. I can give my body to be burned and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. See, David is saying here, search me. What you need to do, Carolyn, is you need to get alone between you and God, and you need to go, even if it's on your pillow at night, when you're in the privacy of your own home, you need to lay there on that pillow with your head looking up, with your eyes wide open, and say, Lord, search me, O God. And be honest with yourself, because I'm going to tell you something. You don't want to leave this world without salvation. It wouldn't be fair to you. It would not be fair to you to think that you're not good enough when Jesus knows you're not good enough. But he offered you a gift of salvation. A gift is something that you don't deserve. It would be like me taking my last $20 bill and handing it to you, and I'm giving you that money, but I've got another 20 when I get home. I've got more than 20 when I get home, but I'm giving you a gift, and that gift is something that you have to desire that gift. You have to want that gift. And see, that's where I think the disconnect is that David is saying here, search me, O God, and know my heart. If God knows your heart, Carolyn, he sees the good and the bad, and you can't change any of your bad by yourself, and you can't make yourself good by yourself. It won't work. It won't work. If David could save himself, David would never have to say, search me, O God. But David chose to say this. Did he have to say it for God to search him?
No.
God already searched him when he said it.
Right. Yeah. I mean.
So it wasn't like that David was giving God credit to search him. God had already searched him, but it was making David feel right. That David was to say, search me, O God, and know my heart. That's where we need to get. On this last Sunday of the year of 2023, we need to get to the point where Sheila needs to sit back there and say, Lord, search me, O God. She would want to be right with God. if nobody else comes to church, if y'all had an excuse not to come, and if everybody else had an excuse to come, there's one that I know that's going to be here. If she possibly can now. You know what I thought about? On the way over here, I thought about you, Sheila. Sheila has a golden opportunity to serve the Lord and not ever come here. You know what Sheila has to do? She has to put on her clothes like she's got right now. She has to make about 150 steps. And she could be sitting in a church house, hearing the gospel, no doubt, in a church that is right across the road from her. She doesn't need to come to Macedonia to worship. She chooses to come to Macedonia to worship. If you couldn't come, Norma, and you was sick, or Carolyn, you was sick, she would still load up with me. Margaret didn't call me to tell me she wasn't going to be here for Sunday school. She called Deborah. But Deborah let me know the deal. Deborah let me know that she wasn't going to be here. But my point that I'm making is, if Sheila was to say, "Search me, O God, and know my heart," it would get God's attention because Sheila is saying it. Sheila's talking about herself. She's not going to go and say, "Search Carolyn, O God." Now, she might be praying that. And you know what? I think that's wise. That if there's somebody that has got a disconnect, that wouldn't Norma, would you mind if I said, "Search Norma, O God, and know Norma's heart"? But that ain't what David said. David said, "Search me, O God." See, when we put the me in place, it doesn't stop there. Know my heart. You notice he said, "Know my heart." Not somebody else's heart, my heart. Me, my. Try me. What that word "try me" means, prove me. Prove that. Do we need proof that we're doing a service today, Sheila? We're doing it without my wife and without the other two and maybe a visitor or two. Did I invite people today? Yes, I did. And whoever read my invitation, if they lived 5 miles in McClenny, they had an opportunity to come. We didn't let the cold building keep us out of this building today. Wouldn't it have been nice to have met under the oak tree out there where it was a little bit warmer? But see, we're inside, bundled up. We're okay. Everything is fine. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts. Carolyn, God knows your thoughts. He knows your thinking before you ever think it. He knows I was going to grab that chair before I ever grabbed the chair to sit down. See, if he knows all things, he knows everything about you.
I mean,
There's nothing that he does not know.
right. I mean, there's no, I know that, and it's like, there's no point in trying to hide.
Well, there is no point in trying to hide because you can't.
Right.
Because David already said that you can't hide. Remember what we said about the kitty cats at dark? They can see. You don't think God is able to see in the dark? He surely showed up with light for Saul on the road to Damascus. He got his attention. Know my thoughts. My thoughts. I'm not saying no Carolyn's thoughts. See, I could pray that, but would God rather me look at me? Let me say this, Carolyn. I got a full-time job checking me. But am I concerned about you? Yes. I am concerned because the time will come, because we're all appointed once to die. Hebrews 9:27 is appointed unto man once to die and then the judgment. I do not want to have that body laying in a place like this and me have to know and wonder what Carolyn did. I think that would be horrible if I had to wonder where Norma stood. It would cause me to drive me crazy, Sheila, if I had to know, if I ever had to say words over Sheila, what words would I say? I would much rather say, I know with the evidence that I see that Sheila knew Jesus. I'd like to be able to know that I could say that Norma knew Jesus. And I'd also say that for Carolyn. I'd like to say it for my own wife that ain't here listening to what I'm saying. I'd like for her to be able to know it's appointed unto man once to die. And it's time today that we search ourselves. The last day of the year is important because people's going to make New Year's resolutions, but guess what they're going to do before the New Year's happens? They're going to break them.
I don't make her.
They're going to break it because it's just common nature. There was a commercial on Facebook that said that Dairy Queen causes people to lie about their New Year's resolution 30 minutes after it comes to the new year. You know why? Because they go to Dairy Queen to eat. And they probably have already prayed saying, Lord, take away some of my desire for food. And then within 30 minutes they go into Dairy Queen. See what I'm getting at? But he don't stop at that verse. And see if there be any way, any wicked way in me. And see. Only God can see. Brother Kenny can't see in you, Carolyn. As much as I'm seeing the outward of you, I can't see the inward of you. My eyes can't look into the crevices of Carolyn, and I can't do it with Norma or Sheila or my own wife or anybody. I can't look and to see. All I can do is bring a message. And it says here, and see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Well, so what you need to do is you need to take these verses home with you, these last two verses, and apply them to your life, just like Norma applies it to her life, just like I applied it to my life. I picked up on what the word said, search me, O God. If I'd done more searching than me, I wouldn't have time to be looking at Sheila. I wouldn't have time to be worried about Norma. But part of my job is to be concerned about Norma and to be concerned about Sheila and be concerned about my bride. That's part of my job, to be concerned about you. And I've tried to make it as clear as I know how to make it. I really have tried. But are y'all ready for the entertainment part of the message? We're all like this clay. We're done with the Bibles now. And I want y'all to pay attention. I want y'all to really pay attention to this, because this is something that you've seen before, but I want you to remember it. We're all like a molded clay. Now, what this is Play-Doh. I did this before about 4 months ago. But I'm sitting here mashing that clay as hard as I can, and I'm trying to mold it. But you know what? I'm running into problems. As much as hard as I'm mashing, I'm running into problems. Well, I can tell you why I'm running into problems, because I know what's inside this. How did you know that?
Because if you can't mash this.
Well, let me show you what I'm talking about. No, this is a rock.
Yeah,
Now see, God can't make this pliable with this in the middle. So that means that God has to tear it apart, take the rock out, and the rock is a picture of unbelief, which is blackness and darkness. So when he takes the rock out, now he's able to take his hands and he's able to mold the clay back. And now it's mashing even more. See, this here clay has got dried out a little bit.
Right.
It needs to be a little bit of moisture on it. But see, this clay is now molding to my hand. If I was to take it like this, and see, it's working me to death to do it. But see, okay, I've got this, it looks like a weenie hot dog. Okay, but here's the thing. If the rock was still in it, I couldn't do this. Doesn't that make sense?
oh yeah.
So God removes the rock and he allows us to be molded into the shape that he wants us to be. So what he does is when we recognize that we need him, he allows the cross to go inside of us. So he slips the cross inside. Now the cross is manageable by him because we believe in him. So when we believe in him, he hides the blood of Jesus Christ in you and I when we come to know him. That's the reason when the cross was added to Saul's life is when he said, Lord, what would you have me do? That's when God slipped the cross inside the man named Saul. It wasn't because of his praying. It wasn't because that he was bound down at some church altar somewhere. He wasn't doing any of that. He asked the Lord point blank, Lord, what do you want me to do? How many people do you think is laying out there on them hallowed grounds that would have liked to have had the opportunity to say, Lord, what would you have me do? You realize that there are certain people that are laying out there right now that could very well be in the pit. And see, if we think about the ones that was lost and the ones that was saved, there's lost people that are laying out there right now. And the Bible says in Luke 16 that the lost people goes to the place of the pit. And I don't want to see nobody go there because Saul didn't want to go there when he said, Lord, what would you have me to do? It was all about what God did. It wasn't about what Saul did. Saul simply believed in God. Okay? So now we know that the cross is inside our clay, right? All right, now we got the cup here. And remember, if for the ones that maybe might remember that I come up here and I took the cup and I did like this. And see, who would want to try to drink out of this? It's got holes in it. It's got rip places in it. All them markings right there is the grime of the world. The grime of the world. And see, this cup, I've used it so much that this cup is just really fractured big time. How, you know, Carolyn, you might think to yourself, how can God use me? There's nothing good about the cup. See, I think that's where you are thinking, that you maybe might see yourself a little bit like the cup. That how could God love somebody like me? Well, let me tell you something. I can tell you how he loves you is because he allows you and me to be this cup. Sometimes we could look good and we could be good and we could act good, but see, we can't really see where the rips is that are in the cup, but there's a rip right there. Yeah. And when the Lord comes and wants to pour his living water into us, This cup won't hold water. Does that make sense? So what God does is God takes out our wrongdoing. He takes out our sin. See, these are stuck together. He takes out our sin. He takes out all of our religion. See, our religion is hid inside our cup. And to the world, we want the world to be able to see our religion, but our cup is like this. So I'm going to lay the cup down just a minute and show you something. We all have a tendency to live like this. But see, what God does is when David says, "Search me, O God," he starts unraveling the inside, and lo and behold, what do we find? A dirty rag. And only God can reveal that, because we didn't know it was there. I knew it was there. And God knows our dirtiness of our rag, so we keep on going. Could there be anything else in us? Is there anything else in us? Oh, lo and behold, look at this. This is down at the very bottom. So what does God do? Does God leave that there? No, here's what God does. God removes this. He removes this stuff like this. And what he does, he takes and he rolls us back up, because now there's nothing on the inside of unbelief. This here stands for unbelief. We all are as filthy rags, every one of us. So don't think that it's only just you that is a filthy rag. It was Norma that was a filthy rag. It was me. It was Sheila. It was Margaret. It was Dolores. It was everybody. My own wife is a filthy rag before God. But see, God removes the filthy rag, and now he's able to roll us back up with the help of the clay, because remember, he slid the cross into us. So we're rolling it back up. You notice that there's no dirty rags in it now. He's done removed all of that. Now he's got us roll back up. There's nothing inside. So he puts us back in the cup. Can the cup now hold water? No. You know why? Because the cup is still broken. But here's what God does, because God is so sweet to us, is God takes his spirit and puts inside of us.
Now it will.
Now, it don't fit the best in the world, but it could be because everything is damaged and it's closed up. But you know, this is still not going to hold water. Even if all these holes were mended, it's not going to hold water. You know why? It ain't got no bottom. A cup that don't have a bottom is not going to hold water. I've got a bottle of water right here. The Holy Spirit is the living water that John chapter 4 talks about. But what God does is he puts the new liner inside of us. He doesn't put this back in. He doesn't put the blackness of this that we do back in. He puts the clay with the cross in the cup. He also puts us in the right standing with him in the cup. And now he's able to put the living water back in by me opening up the cap and pouring the water in. But there's people that still see themselves as the outside. Now let me say it like I pretended on saying it last night. I didn't know Norma 30 years ago. Maybe Norma was lost 30 years ago. I don't know. I'm just using her as my example. She was lost 30 years ago. people could still be judging Norma for what she did 30 years ago. Right or wrong, whether whatever she did, it don't matter what it was, people still gonna say, "Oh, that old Norma." See, this side is worse, and see, this is not that bad. See here, it's not that bad on the marks that you see right there. It's not that bad. But over a period of time, people remember this old Norma right here. But when Norma gets her sins taken away, and her dirty rags taken away, and her blackness of her heart taken away, the blackness of unbelief is taken away, God comes along later on and puts a new cup on the outside. So God still has the old cup in the middle, because we're still in our old life that we're living in now. But people that are judging Norma can't judge Norma for the old life she had, because Christ has covered it up. That doesn't mean she's perfect. It just means that she's been covered up, because God has changed not only the inside, but He's changed the outside. And many people like to hide their dirty garments in their righteousness and be in the cup, because nobody's able to see in the cup. But see, God is able to see in the broken cup. He knows what's broken. He knows our brokenness of our lives. And when He comes in and takes an abode. Now here's what God does. When God allows me and you to die, and we are going to die one day, Bobby died, your daughter died, Sheila, that body lays down in the graveyard. But God comes and takes the body that He saved to glory. That body is gone. It's with Him in the Lord. The old body's still here. But here's the good thing about it. The covering of the new body is lying down, because that body's been changed. God got what He wanted. He left the old body for right now. So when somebody comes by the church and looks down in that box and sees Sheila laying in that box right there, they're going to see that there's something new about Sheila. They're going to see the new person on the outside, but they're also going to see the testimony of the person on the inside. And they're going to know that there was no filthy, dirty rags in us, because God left the old person back. Now see, like I said a minute ago, it's appointed unto man once to die, and then the judgment. And I want to close with this. This is the living water. The living water goes into the cup that has not got holes in it. That's what gives us the ability to have salvation, is God does the changing. See, we didn't manufacture the new cup. He put the new cup inside the old cup, and He put the new cup outside the old cup. So now I can pour water into the old cup, and guess what? It ain't going to spill, because it ain't about us. It's about Him. It's about what the Lord is able to do when He comes into us. Now I've got this that I thought of last night late. This is a key ring. That's all it is, just a key ring. And I remember getting this. I don't remember what year it was, but I really never really knew what it was, other than the fact that if you lose your keys, if you found this big old thing right here, you would be easy to look for your key, you'd know where it is. But do you realize that for a long time,
I lost a key to I have a mailbox, we don't have it. And that was on there when I lost it in the house. I didn't know where I lost it. But I made that bright, big, fluffy, you drop that,
you can see the
how do you
key?
miss it?
Yeah,
I lost it for days.
yeah. Well, go look at this right here. I got this at a trade show. I didn't buy it. I didn't know what it really was. I carried this thing for years because, you know, it's neat looking and it's easy to spot if you lose your key on the ground.
And it's a little flashlight.
No?
Oh, it's not a flashlight? Oh, I thought I saw a thing where it looked like.
Would you believe that I carried a tape measure everywhere I went? And I had no idea.
You didn't know?
I didn't know that. See, it
That's
closes
pretty
up.
I know, but.
But I had no idea. Now, it's not long enough to measure this building,
No, but.
but I mean, but it goes out to about right there is where I
Probably a
feel
yard.
resistance,
Yeah, probably a yard.
you know, and it's only got numbers on one side. It looks like it goes to about 35 inches, 36 inches,
That's what it seemed to be. That's neat, ain't
but you ain't heard the half of it.
it? Okay.
That's just part of it. If that's neat, I had no idea I was carrying something else. I was carrying a set of tools and didn't even know it.
Wow.
Really?
What you do is you take the screwdriver
Right,
and you put it on the end and you got a screwdriver.
right.
If you need a Phillips head,
Yeah,
you got a Phillips head. If you want a flat head, you got a flat head.
yeah.
I was carrying a tool the whole time. And I think the reason I wanted to use this as a show and tell today is that we all carry a tool whether we're using it or not. We all been given the ability to have salvation. But how many of us are content in not using it and taking advantage of it? That's what I would like to see, and every one of us in here is for us to do what Psalm 139 says, the last two verses. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts. Carolyn, if you was to go home and you was to say, Lord, search me, what if he was to blow your mind to show you that you've been carrying the tape measure all these years and you didn't know it? You've been carrying the wrench set all these years and you didn't know it. All because of the fact that you have sold yourself short by not being good enough. And see, I carried this for a long time and had no idea. And if you notice something about this, not one of them holes is empty. All the screwdrivers that came in the kit is still there. You know why?
You never opened it.
I never used it.
Right, you never opened it to use it.
I never knew it was there.
You didn't notice the creak, I mean, there's a.
I didn't.
You know.
Why would you examine a keychain for?
I don't know, I mean,
I'm just telling
I
you that I just thought when I picked it up, it was a freebie of a gift at a cattleman association.
Yeah.
That you get these gifts when you're walking through the trade
Right,
show
right.
and you pick up stuff and you don't really know what you're picking up. Oh, that's neat. I'll get a keychain.
Yeah.
And I used it. But see, the thing is, it's got a way on here that you can still use it, but I refuse to use it even today. You know why I don't use it today? Because I don't want to lose it, and I want to use it for the demonstration to people like y'all. So a year from now, if you're still here in the church service and say we got 15 people back there, they haven't never seen this before. And it might help them.
Right.
But I've never shown this to this in this service or in this church since I've been here that I remember.
I don't remember.
But this here just come to my mind. I don't remember going out there to my shed and picking up sand to put in this to do a demonstration to ask Norma, I'll tell you what I want you to do for me sometime. I want you to take this right here, go home and get you a long piece of aluminum foil, and I want you to count the grains of sand. Now, you know, that would be ludicrous.
You know, I was thinking about
You know,
that.
I mean, that, now, can you imagine if some pastor was to go and say, no, I want you to just count this. You couldn't even count the one, if you wet your finger and stick it in the sand, you wouldn't be able to count what was on the end of your finger. And yet the Lord examines us as the sand, not the sand of the sea, but as the sand far as the preciousness of the whole world. That's what he said in Psalm 139.
I had thought on that, and it's probably going way off the subject, but if you told me to count that, math is my worst subject, but if I had like algebra and all the other stuff, I could probably do it. What I would do is I'd weigh some of the sand, and then only a little bit, and then get a needle or something and individually count. And then weigh the next ones and whatever, and count them and seeing if I'm getting an average or whatever.
I think what the moral of the sand
Right,
is,
nobody wants to count that.
is
I won't want to do it.
it's impossible for us to use our time to count.
Right, but I mean,
And see,
that's what I.
we can't figure out God's way of salvation
Sure.
other than
Right.
accepting as a gift. If I was to give you this gift, then it's your acceptance of the gift. God gives salvation. He accepts, you accept his gift.
Right.
You don't have to count his gift. You don't have to look, well, now God, I really need to learn and what it means to really understand the gift. No, you'll never understand the gift. When you get to heaven, on the first 1.5 minutes of you being in heaven, you will shake your head and say, God, you made a mistake. I am not worthy of this gift.
Yeah.
And you know what? God knows that you're not worthy. Sheila is not worthy. Norma is not worthy. Brother Kenny is not worthy. We're just not worthy. So when I put all this stuff back in the bag, the message will be over. The message is done. What is the message? The message is search me, O God, and know my heart. Search me.
Right. No, I mean, I lost something in the house, and I was asking the Lord for help.
He
You know,
helped
like-
you do it, he helped you find it, too, didn't he, Sister Carrie?
Yeah, he did, you know he did.
Yeah,
He made me work for it.
yeah. I've asked, hey, every time I ever lost anything, I say, you know what I do? I say, now, Lord, you know where that's at. Show me where it's at. Sure enough, every time he do it.
Oh, well, you're a better mind than me, Charlie Brown.
Well, let me say this in closing. I've got all my stuff loaded up. And the message is over. And I'm closing my Bible. Romans 3:23 says the wages of sin is death. But the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. He's the one that gives us the gift. if we don't accept his gift, it's because we don't think we deserve it. We think that there's a catch to it. We think that there might be something that's going on that we don't fully understand. But Jesus is basically offering himself. When we see our unrighteousness, that's where he shows up with his righteousness. Because it's our salvation comes from him. It's not earned by us. We can't earn it if we wanted to. You could take and move into this church and live like a monk for the rest of your days, Carolyn, and it wouldn't impress God one iota. You could go work at the Council on Aging from now until you're 95, and it won't impress God one bit. What impresses God is when you accept his free gift of salvation, and it's free. It's totally free. It would be just like me taking a $20 bill out and handing it to you. And what would you do? What would you do if I handed you something? So I want to use my ring as my example. If I was to take my ring off and I said, "Here, take it," what would you have to do?
I wouldn't want to.
No. But what would you have to do to get it?
Just accept it.
You would have to reach for it.
Oh, okay.
If I'm handing it to you,
Right.
that's right. They're right there.
Right.
But if I didn't move my hand towards him, I wouldn't get nothing.
Yeah.
See, the point that I'm making is that ring is really not expensive at all. It's junk. But it means something to me
Right.
because of where I bought it.
Yeah.
I bought it in Italy.
Yeah. Understood. I mean,
So the thing is, you have to reach out. You have to reach out for it. And if it's a free gift, then all he wants you to do is reach for it. The Bible says in Romans 5 and verse 8, I believe it is, that God commendeth his love toward us, in that while we were yet in sin, Christ died for us. So it was the death of the cross and the death of Jesus on the cross that made the gift available. So that's what makes you say, "Search me, O God, and know my heart." The Bible says in Romans 6:23, the wages of sin is death. See, there's a wage that God puts on sin. The wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life. See, the gift is not charged. There's no charge for the gift. You just have to accept the gift. That's where I think that's where the rub is that you have yet to receive that gift. And until you receive it, you won't know the value of Christ until you receive it yourself. It's sort of like being better felt than told.
yeah.
You know,
I know I understand everything you're saying, and I have heard it before. And I'm not berating you, you're trying to help me thinking, I don't understand. I think deep down I don't feel I'm worthy.
well, that's the part you're going to have to get over.
I mean, I don't.
Have
I'm
you ever had somebody just come to you and say, "Carolyn, get over it"? Maybe I'm saying it a little bit harsh,
No.
but I don't mean to be.
No, I'm not taking it harsh. I'm just thinking,
Sister Carol,
what exactly is my problem?
Sister
Is
Carol.
it, I don't.
Well, I know.
what you thinking is I don't like
Help me,
myself.
Lord.
But see, the Lord loves you.